So, I've neglected my channel for about half a year. I'm probably not going to do that again. Maybe. So with this being my comeback video, I really need to cover a topic that'll re-ingratiate myself with the viewers that I have been ignoring for so long. So in this video, I thought I'd burn a bridge with one of the most popular free speech advocates, publicly defend degeneracy, and align myself with the likes of Amos Yee and Charming Man. This is good optics, and you can't convince me otherwise. Count Dankula got into some hot water on Twitter after making the claim that Lolly was literal child porn, which he did later retract. For those of you pure enough to not know what Lolly is, it is simulated child porn, generally drawn in an anime style. Charming Man made a video response to Dankula's tweets, and Dankula made a video response to Charming Man's video response. As tempting as it sounds to make a video response to the video response of the video response, I'm not gonna do that, because that sounds kinda gay. I am, however, going to hone in on two of Dankula's final points, because I think that's where the meat of the discussion lies. The first of Dank's points that I'm going to be responding to is that keeping Lolly illegal is erring on the side of caution.
I have viewed studies, I've even looked at some of the stuff that people have actually sent to me, and so far all I'm seeing is they all conflict. There isn't really a definitive answer. Some are saying that giving paedophiles the outlet actually prevents them from molesting real-world kids. Some are actually saying that giving them that only adds fuel to the fire and can result in more kids being molested. And it can actually normalise sexual attraction to kids and create even more pedos. Making Lolly legal in one culture might prevent molestation. Making Lolly legal in another culture might actually increase it. So when it comes down to whether or not lolly porn should be legal or illegal, I don't know. And you don't fucking know either, Mitch. Because right now the studies and information are so divided on it and no one actually has a definitive fucking answer. So what I'm trying to say is we should maybe wait for a bit more information, and until then, err on the side of caution. And let's not make any rash decisions that could possibly lead to people being hurt on either side. Right, I don't think that's hypocritical or me being a prick to wait for more information and err on the side of caution in the meantime.
When it comes to more conventional forms of pornography, it tends to be the case that areas with less restrictions on porn also have fewer sexual offenses committed. It is my suspicion that the legalization of Lolly would therefore decrease the number of child sex offenses being committed, but I'm going to put that aside for the sake of this argument and instead accept the position that we have no evidence one way or the other. Lolly could increase the rate of sexual offenses against children, decrease the rate of sexual offenses against children, or have no relation to sexual offenses against children whatsoever. If we have no reason to suspect that any of these possibilities is more likely than any other possibility, banning Lolly is not erring on the side of caution. If cautious in this regard refers to choosing the option that is most likely to protect children, and we have no information, then an equally valid argument could be made that legalizing Lolly is the cautious option. In isolation, you might consider this a wash, but as a legal standard, this is not erring on the side of caution, this is erring on the side of authoritarianism. It's my position that we shouldn't restrict any particular behavior unless it can be demonstrated that it is hurting someone. In essence, we're discussing the burden governments need to meet in order to justify restricting what we can and cannot do. If you're okay with the government being able to ban something that has not yet been demonstrated to cause harm, you're essentially saying the government has no burden to meet. If you are in favor of maximizing individual rights, this is a bad precedent to set. Keep it banned until it is proven harmless is not being cautious with children, it is being flippant with individual freedom. Dankula's other position is that if there is a correlation between Lolly and child abuse, then he would be in favor of keeping it illegal.
If research came out that showed making Lolly legal actually increased child molestation and there was a definitive link, then I would ask for it to remain illegal.
But also that it is a form of art that needs to be protected.
Lolly, despite what you may think of it, is a form of art. It's a morally reprehensible, terrible form of art, but it's a form of art nonetheless. And art should be protected under freedom of expression and freedom of speech.
But ultimately, that support is contingent on correlative information that he does not have.
Personally, for me, I just want more information. I know that deep down, I should just directly be supporting Lolly, because it is freedom of speech and it is freedom of expression. It's just, morally bringing myself to do that is a pretty difficult thing. So I'm kind of hoping that I see information that, you know, shows that it actually decreases molestation so that I can morally bring myself to actually defend it.
And my problem with Dank here is, this is a standard he doesn't hold any other form of speech to. So far as I'm aware, he has never looked into studies to determine whether or not something such as white nationalist rhetoric increases the rate of violent crimes against minorities, whether or not feminist rhetoric inspires women to illegally shut down talks and conventions held by MRAs, and if there were a link between violent video games and increased aggression amongst children, I still don't think he would be in favor of censoring video games. Even if a form of speech is linked with a societal shift that we find undesirable, that is still not sufficient ground to ban that speech. Because regulation of that speech also necessarily entails undesirable outcomes, such as non-offending lolly consumers being thrown in jail. If a person has engaged in a behavior that correlates to something undesirable, yet did not actually commit an undesirable act, we should not be imprisoning them. Someone who draws or views lolly, yet does not hurt children, is not a threat. If, for example, the Nazi pug video normalized Nazism to the point where some people engaged in violent acts against minorities, I would have an issue with the people engaging in the violent acts, not with Count Dankula for having made the video. And if you disagree with me on any of these points, on what foundation do you base your advocacy for free speech? Somewhere in your logic, there's an inconsistency. I don't begrudge Dank in his hesitancy for lolly advocacy. I'm not particularly excited to be advocating for lolly. I think it's disgusting. But finding it disgusting is not inconsistent with being a free speech advocate. Wanting it to be regulated is being inconsistent with free speech advocacy. The arguments I would use to defend any other form of speech are applicable here, and that's not something I can just ignore.
Looks like a nail, made it time